All right, we're back Friday. You may hear a little bit of rain in the background. We're getting some much needed rain from a very, very dry summer we've just had. So I apologize if that's picked up in the background. But right now, we're going to talk about a few hot topics around the league, some things that happened that really didn't get talked about this week. And then we're going to go over game picks for the weekend and maybe a few betting strategies on a few of those games. So early in the week, we know that Chris Jones signed a contract agreement with the Chiefs to come back and play one more year, which he was already under contract for. This contract agreement was basically, it didn't really change his salary for the year. It added incentives that he could get paid for. So basically, his agent negotiated him the possibility to make up to 10 more million. However, his agent is selling it, and it was originally pushed as, oh, his contract, and he could make up to $30 million this year, because he was originally, his contract is 19 and a half, and then there's 10 million in incentives. Well, that's a blatant lie, because he forfeited one game check for missing week one, and he racked up a bunch of fines for missing training camps, preseason, and all that. And under the new collective bargain agreement, those fines are not waivable. They are enforced. So with those fines and the loss of a game check, the most he could make off his contract is 16 million. And with these incentives, he could get 10 million. So he could get up to 26 million now. I don't know what these incentives are. I assume they're a certain amount of tackles, tackles for loss, sacks, maybe an incentive for causing fumbles, recovering fumbles, something like that, or maybe percentage snaps played. I really don't know what the details are. I haven't really looked into it. But worst case scenario, if you don't hit any of these incentives, you're playing for 16 million. If you have an average year, you hit a few of them, you may get your original contracted amount at 19 and a half, 20, 21 million. And if you hit all of them, you're going to hit 26 million. So I really don't get the thought process behind this deal, because it's really not that beneficial. I mean, his agent is going to promote it like, "Oh yeah, we talked the Chiefs into this, and I got my client this, and blah blah blah." But you really didn't get him much, and he's ultimately going to have to earn every bit of it. None of it's guaranteed on the additional, and it's still looking like he'll play the season with the Chiefs and go into the next offseason wanting a new contract, and they'll either have to pay him close to that 30 million mark like he's wanting, or another team in the league will. So at least they got him back. The defense played pretty well without him, so obviously having him back will be a huge benefit. And it's been reported that Kelsey is also going to play this weekend against the Jags, so Kansas City should be rolling again. Another big topic, we all know Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. I made a video about how that really affects the whole league, not just the Jets. It also affects the Packers and, like I said, a lot of NFL fans. But he had successful surgery on his Achilles, and he is in good spirits. He posted on Instagram, quoted the Dark Knight, Harvey Dent, saying, "Night is darkest just before the dawn." And he said he will rise again. And then he has also made an appearance on the Pat McAfee show, and he was quoted as saying, "Give me all your doubts and watch what I do." So, I believe that's the quote. Let's make sure. Yes. So he looks like he is very motivated to hit rehab, get back on his feet, and get back to playing with the Jets next season. Obviously, he will not make any playing time this year, but hopefully we do get a chance to see him play with the Jets next year with that great, talented young defense, a lot of playmakers around him, and um, I'm looking forward to that. I hope he does make it back. I don't want him to retire off of an injury like that. I want him to have a good last season, kind of have like a farewell tour, and hopefully, rack up some accomplishments in that year and have a good year for the Jets. So the only other thing, I kind of hit on it in my previous video. Obviously, there's a confrontation between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts on the sideline last night in that game. Like I said in my other video, I don't get it. You're winning. You're up 13 points. It doesn't matter what kind of production you're having. Like, you say you want to contribute, or that, DeVonta Smith and Jalen Hurts both said, everybody wants to contribute and be a part of the team. He is contributing. He is being part of the team. He is drawing that coverage away from DeVonta Smith so he could get that 100+ yards and those 2 touchdowns. I think he had 2 touchdowns. He might have only had one. Yeah, he only had one. But either way, he's doing his job. Like you are drawing attention away from the other receivers, and that's allowing the pass game to work when it's working, and the running game is obviously working. You were carving them up. Like don't get into a skirmish on the sideline, an argument because you want the ball more. Like you're winning. That's your goal. And the goal is to win these games early in the season before the season gets too rough. Like, yes, I understand wanting to be involved, and if you're down and you think your lack of production is causing you to be down, and you think getting the ball more can help, that's a different story and that's a different conversation. But when you are winning and something is working, don't try to make the team go away from it because you're not happy. Like that's just plain selfish. Like grow up, dude. You're a professional and you're a part of a team. Be a part of a team, help the team win, do your part. Whether you like it or not, you're winning. That's what matters. So, all that being said, we'll jump straight into some game picks. I had Philly picked last night. I stated that in a previous video. So, Sunday we have the Packers playing the Falcons. I got Green Bay winning that. I know Jones, he had a hamstring injury last week, may or may not play. Um, to me, Jones not playing is not that big of a deal. Obviously, he was instrumental in the run and pass game last week, but with the Falcons defense, I think as Packers, I think we can get the running game going with A.J. Dillon and maybe even um, be okay without Jones. To me, the biggest issue would be if Quay Walker doesn't play. He's going to be more instrumental on the defensive side of the ball, getting some run stoppage with Campbell. So I know Walker was in concussion protocol, but he did practice yesterday on a limited basis. So hopefully that means he's trending toward playing and he's kind of cleared protocol. I don't know at what level in protocol you're actually considered cleared to play, but the fact that he practiced on a limited basis, I think, is a good sign. But I got Green Bay playing there, or winning. We got Buffalo playing the Raiders. I got Buffalo winning that. I think they bounce back from their heartbreaking Monday night loss. I think Josh Allen plays much more efficiently. I don't think he turns the ball over as much. I don't think his turnovers have been that big of a deal. Um, just to hit on that real quick, he's led the league in touchdowns over the last 3 years, and he's number 3 in touchdown to interception ratio over the last 3 years behind Rodgers and Mahomes. So he's got that gunslinger mentality. Yeah, he's going to turn the ball over, but he's also going to make some great throws and help you win games. So it's one of those things where you just kind of have to live with it. We have Cincinnati and Baltimore playing. I have Cincinnati winning that. I think Baltimore's offense is still going to struggle a little bit to get on the same page and be on the same page early and often, and I like Cincinnati to bounce back. We have Detroit and Seattle. I like Detroit. I think they have a lot of momentum going right now. They obviously beat the Chiefs in the season opener last Thursday. They've had 10 days to get ready for this game. It's in Detroit. I think that Detroit crowd is going to be louder than I've probably ever heard it in my life. And I like Detroit to win that game. We have we have Tennessee and the LA Chargers. We saw what the offense looked like last week with Kellen Moore calling plays. He called a very balanced game, a lot of runs, a lot of passes. I like the Chargers to win that game. Tennessee did not look good against New Orleans. They still almost won, but they're going to have to put up more points than what they did last week to beat the Chargers, and I just don't see it happening. I think Tannehill's kind of struggling. He played bad last week, so I got the Chargers. Next, we have Chicago and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay pulled the upset on Minnesota last week. Chicago lost to Green Bay when they were favorites. But I like Chicago to bounce back in this one. It's been reported that Davis, cornerback for the Bucks, is not going to be playing, and I think the offense plays much better. I think Justin Fields and DJ Moore get much more involved this week, so I like Chicago to win. Next, we have Kansas City and Jacksonville. As I said, Chris Jones and Travis Kelce will be playing, and I think both of those players will make huge differences. Uh, I like the Chiefs to win that game on the road. We have Indy and Houston playing. You got two rookie quarterbacks playing each other here. A couple top draft picks. Both played pretty well last week, but ultimately, I think Indy has a little bit better offense. I think they have a better receiver with Pittman, and defensively, I think Indianapolis is a slightly better. So I got Indy winning that game. On to some of the better games of the week. We have the LA Rams and the San Francisco 40. Sorry, I burped. San Francisco 49ers playing. I like the 49ers to win this game. We really don't know if the Rams are legit. I know they went into Seattle last week and played extremely well, but that was a bit unexpected. So to see if they can do it 2 weeks in a row will really show whether they're that good or not. And I don't see San Francisco having a letdown after the way they performed against Pittsburgh last week. The defense played extremely well all around the ball, all the way around. The offense played well. They got all of their playmakers involved, and everyone looked good. So I think San Francisco wins that. Next we have Arizona and the New York Giants. Arizona's in all kind of disarray. I don't think their quarterback situation is going to help them any, and I think the Giants will want to bounce back and play a much better game and have a convincing win after their big letdown against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. So I got the Giants in that one. Next, we have Dallas and the New York Jets. Unfortunately, like I've already said, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. He is out for the season, so we will not get to see a great game out of this one like we could have, but I still think it'll be pretty good. Zach Wilson, they seem to have a lot of confidence in, and he didn't play terrible in relief, but he did make some mistakes. Hopefully, with the whole week to build the offensive game plan around him and his skill set instead of last week it was built around Rodgers, and then he had to come in and they had to make adjustments on the fly. Hopefully, the Jets play a little bit better on offense. Dallas's defense will definitely put them to the test. And on the flip side of that, the Jets defense will definitely put Dallas to the test. I think it'll be a pretty good game, but I think Dallas wins. Then we have Denver and the Washington Commanders. I know Denver played the Raiders really close last week. I thought they would beat the Raiders, but I think they will beat the Commanders. Commanders, you know, I feel like they're on the rise a little bit, but they're not quite there yet. They have a good defense. They can keep games close, but I just don't really see them closing out very many games. So I got Denver in that one. Next we have New England and Miami. We saw what Miami did last week. We saw Tua and Tyreek go off. I think New England being extremely well coached and Belichick being a defensive coach, I think we will see somewhat of I think they'll limit Tyreek Hill to an extent, but he's so hard to shut down completely. Um, I think they'll have a better plan to get pressure on Tua. He was rarely under pressure last week, so I think it'll be a fairly decent game. I think there'll be a good amount of defense played, but I think Miami pulls that game out. And on to the doubleheader for Monday Night Football, we have New Orleans and the Carolina Panthers. I think New Orleans has the better defense, and obviously they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better offense, and I just don't see them losing this game. Uh, the It may take them a few games, like several other teams, to get Derek Carr in the flow of the offense and everything, but they were able to pull out a win last week when it wasn't that pretty, and I think they'll play better this week and win that game. And last, we have Pittsburgh and Cleveland as the last game of the week. Cleveland played extremely well, shutting down Cincinnati last week. Their defense played well. Uh, Pittsburgh kind of struggled. I say kind of, they struggled a lot against San Francisco. The offense really didn't look that good after a lot of preseason hype. But ultimately, I think Cleveland will put the pressure on Pickett, and with Deontay Johnson not playing, that's going to limit their offense a little bit. And I like Cleveland to win this game as well. So those are my picks. We got them locked in. Betting strategies earlier in the week, the Packers were -1.5. Now they are +1.5. I still like that game. I thought the Packers would cover when they were favorites. Now they're underdogs, so I do like that one. I predicted Chicago to win outright against the Bucks, so obviously Chicago plus 2.5 spread I really like. Uh, Seattle and Detroit, the spread earlier in the week was Detroit minus 5.5. That's kind of shrunk to minus 4.5. I feel like that's doable, but if and with that game, if I'm betting on it, I would probably sacrifice a little bit of payout and buy the odds down to maybe minus 2.5. And there's a couple other games I would do that on as well. We'll get to, but get that down to minus 2.5. That way, if it's a field goal game, they still cover. Another one, it's been 3 points all week. It's the Chargers and the Titans. I think the Chargers win. If you can buy that to 2.5, just in case that it is a field goal win, that's covered. The Chiefs have jumped up to minus 3.5, so that's another one. I really like the Chiefs to win that one. So buy that extra point to make it minus 2.5, and you'll be sitting pretty there. The 49ers were bigger favorites earlier in the week than what they are now. It's down to 7. So that one's kind of fluctuated. Another one that's fluctuated is the Raiders Bills line. So those are a little bit bigger spreads as well. That one's currently at 8.5. It was at 9.5. The Niners were at like 8, 8.5. Now they're at 7. Another big one is the Cowboys minus 9.5. Earlier it was a little bit smaller. That one's gotten bigger. I really don't care for most of those. Another one I do like is the Giants minus 4.5 against the Cardinals. I think, like I said, I think they bounce back and play really well. I think they'll cover that 4.5. And initially, like I said, I thought the New Orleans would win. So if you want to buy a half point on that to make that minus 2.5, just for that field goal, so you don't have a push on your parlay or your ticket. So those are a few of the games I like. I really haven't done much with the over unders. I really don't like those too much. Obviously, if you have two strong offenses and a weak defense, then obviously go with that. Like last night, I did like the over on that game, but most of these games this weekend, I really don't care for the over under too much. So there's definitely a few games that are winnable, and you can kind of parlay 2, 3, 4 of them together on a ticket. You may be able to pull out some decent winnings. But those are my picks for the week. Those are my betting strategies for the weekend, and we will have a follow up early next week to see how we're doing on our game picks. Have a good weekend. Enjoy some football.